Hey, what's up guys, it's Crazy Wing. Today I'm going to be starting what's going to be different series of different things for this channel, and it's going to be called The Evolution Of. And I'm going to be starting it with the iPhone. So I'm going to be doing Evolution of the iPhone. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be comparing every iPhone, showing specs and new introductions to see how or where the iPhone has come from to what it is presently, with the new iPhone 5 being released here in the next couple weeks. So this is going to contain every iPhone, so the iPhone original to the iPhone 5. And some information on the iPhone 5 still isn't available, so not going to be able to produce everything, but you'll be able to see the main points. Before I start, I just want to say that I'm not much of an Apple fan. I've never really been much of an Apple fan. In fact, I'm probably going to be making a video about that soon. But I'm not. I don't really pledge allegiance, I guess, to any one company. I'm not a Microsoft fanboy, and I'm definitely not an Apple fanboy. But that's for another video. So, and also another side note, I used to have a job repairing iPhones a couple years ago, so I do know. I'm not just a complete retard here that doesn't know anything. He's just reading, specs off of a website. I do kind of understand. I do understand exactly what's going on in the iPhones and what's what. So let's get started here. So I'm just gonna go across general information and yeah. So the iPhone original was announced in January of 2007 and then released in June of 2007. The iPhone 3G was announced in June of 2008 and then released in July of 2008. The iPhone 3G was announced in June of 2009, released in June of 2009. iPhone 4 was announced in June of 2010, released in June of 2010. iPhone 4S was announced in October of 2011 and released in October of 2011. The iPhone 5 was announced in September of 2012 and is not yet released. So, general information. The iPhone original ran on a 2G network. Its dimensions were 115 by 61 by 11.6 millimeters, and it weighed 135 grams. The iPhone 3G ran on a 3G network, obviously. Its dimensions were 115.5 by 62.1 by 12.3, a little bit bigger. And its weight actually went down a little bit to 133 grams. iPhone 3GS, 3G network as well, exact same dimensions as the 3G, but went up 2 grams in weight. The iPhone 4, 3G network, iPhone 4, yeah, dimensions changed. It was 115.2 by 58.6 by 9.3 millimeters, and it went up 2 grams again to 137 grams. iPhone 4S, identical again, but the weight went up 3 grams to 140 grams. iPhone 5 added in the 4G network LTE, and the dimensions are 123.8 by 58.6 by 7.6 millimeters, and it went down drastically to 112 grams. And also, obviously, the 4-inch screen. That's why the dimensions are bigger, and it's also like 2 whole millimeters thinner. Let's see what's next. Memory. So, with the iPhone original, they released the 4, 8, and 16 gigabyte model. No external. There's no external memory for any iPhone, even the 5. So I'm just gonna leave that there. So original iPhone 4, 8, 16, and then iPhone 3, 8, and 16 gigabyte models with 128 megabytes of RAM. iPhone 3GS, 8, 16, and they introduced the 32 gigabyte model with 256 megabytes of RAM. iPhone 4, 8, 16, and 32 again, but with 512 megabytes of RAM. iPhone 4S, 16, 32, and they introduced the 64 gigabyte model, and it still has 512 megabytes of RAM. iPhone 5, again, 16, 32, and 64, but this time 1 gigabyte of RAM. Let's do screen next. So, originally, the iPhone original screen is the TFT capacitive touchscreen, 16 million colors. The dimensions were 480 by 320. Screen size 3.5 inches. iPhone 3GS is identical. 480 by 320, 3.5 inches. iPhone 3GS, once again identical, 480 by 320, 3.5 inches. iPhone 4, same screen size, or hold on, let me back up a second because they changed the screen here. So they upgraded the screen to LED backlit IPS TFT, capacitive touchscreen, 16 million colors, and the screen size is still 3.5 inches, but the resolution is 960 by 640 now. And these all support multi-touch, by the way, obviously. iPhone 4S screen is the identical 960 by 640. iPhone 5 is upgraded, but the same touchscreen, but the resolution is 1136 by 640. They call it their Retina display, and it's a 4-inch screen, so 0.5 inch bigger screen, which it's the very first iPhone to ever get a bigger screen. So that's kind of a big deal, I guess, if that's what you're looking for. So let's do data. The iPhone original ran on Edge, 2G, 3G. Obviously, the iPhone 3G obviously ran on 3G HSDPA. iPhone 3GS also ran on 3G, but the HSDPA was upgraded to 7.2 megabits per second. iPhone 4 HSDPA still 3G, 7.2 megabits per second still, but they added HSUPA. iPhone 4 data, they upgraded the HSDPA to 14.4 megabits per second. And the 5, it's pretty drastic here. They added DC HSDPA, 42 megabits per second, and the LTE is supposed to get 100 megabits per second. That's pretty crazy for a phone. I mean, that's been around for a while, LTE. The iPhone's just kind of barely getting into that, and I think they're actually getting sued by HTC for the LTE. I'm not sure. Anyway, camera. The original iPhone had a 2 megapixel camera and did not support video. The iPhone 3G had a 2 megapixel camera and no video as well. iPhone 3GS upgraded the camera a little bit to a 3.15 megapixel camera, and they added video support, VGA, at 30 frames per second. The iPhone 4 upgraded the camera to 5 megapixels, added in video support at 720p, added the LED video lights, a front camera at 480p. iPhone 4S, they upgraded the camera again to an 8 megapixel. Now the video supported 1080p, and the front camera is the same. iPhone 5, still an 8 megapixel camera, 1080p, but now the front camera is 720p. So, more HD front camera. Okay, looking at features now, we have just the operating system. The original iPhone came with, obviously, the iPhone operating system, but it originally didn't even have the App Store. So it was kind of just like a phone. It didn't have apps or anything, games or anything like that. So then the 3 supports up to OS 4.2.1. 3GS supports up to 6.0. The 4 supports up to 6.0. 4S supports up to 6.0. And obviously the 5 supports up to 6.0. Let's get into the great nerdy stuff here. Okay, the iPhone original CPU. 412 megahertz ARM11. That's crazy. GPU PowerVR MVX. It had an accelerometer and a proximity sensor, and no flash support or Java support, which it doesn't for any iPhone still. So I'm not gonna repeat that. Even for the 5, it doesn't. So iPhone 3G CPU is identical, 412 megahertz ARM11, exact same GPU. And but they added in GPS. Then the 3GS got a little upgrade on the CPU to a 600 megahertz Cortex A8 and a GPU PowerVR SGX 535. And they added in a compass. Yeah. iPhone 4 CPU got upgraded to a 1 gigahertz Cortex A8, which is a pretty big upgrade considering it's almost double the speed of the last one. And then the GPU, nothing happened to it. It's still the PowerVR. And they added a gyro. iPhone 4S, they added in the dual-core 1 GHz Cortex A9. Again, that's a pretty big upgrade. And the GPU is now a PowerVR SGX 54MP2. It's a pretty good name. iPhone 5, we don't know. We don't have that information yet, and we will once it's released in a couple weeks. So I'll probably add an annotation when it is updated. There's a lot of rumors going around, but I think that it's confirmed that it's the Apple A6 chipset. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it that much. We also don't know the GPU. Yeah. Battery in the first one, up to 8 hours talk time, up to 24 hours music. Battery in the 3G, 10 hours talk time, 24 hours music. 3GS, 12 hours talk time, 30 hours music. The 4, 14 hours talk time, 40 hours music. And then the 4S is 14 hours talk time, 40 hours music. And they incorporated the LiPo, L-I-P-O, however you want to say that, the 1420 milliamp hour. And then in the iPhone 8, we don't know the milliamps, but they claim 8 hours talk time and 40 hours music. So pretty big drop in talk time, battery life. Not sure what that's about, but yeah, that's basically it, guys. I'd love to hear your comments on what you think of the new iPhone. If we look really quick, sorry, I just had to know, if we look and we can compare the 4S to the 5 right now with the information that we have, I mean, Apple isn't really known for doing like big, huge upgrades on their releases because they're once a year. So, they're not like huge upgrades. So, if we look, you get the 4G, which is old technology. I mean, it's not old, but 4G's been around for a long time. It's just barely getting incorporated into, or the LTE is just barely getting incorporated into the iPhone. Obviously, the 0.5-inch screen, or 0.5-inch bigger screen than the 4S, and it's 2 millimeters thinner, and it's also like 28 grams lighter, maybe 38. Yeah, 38 grams lighter. So no, 28 grams lighter. Still, that's pretty big. Upgrade to 1 gigabyte of RAM, which it's pretty. I don't know. My Galaxy S2 has 1 gigabyte of RAM, and it's a year old. And yeah, screen resolution, 1136 by 640, up from 960 by 640, and obviously the 4-inch screen from the 3.5-inch screen. The LTE, like we said, no upgrading camera except the front camera is now 720p. And obviously we don't know the hardware specs of the CPU and GPU, but if you look at it as a whole, it's really not that big of an upgrade, but people will freak out because it's an Apple product, so they'll freak out and buy it, even though it's not even, definitely not the most up-to-date phone on the market. Definitely not that many upgrades from the 4S, but people are going to freak out and go buy it because it's Apple. But if you look at it from where it started, I mean, it really has come a long way. Just really quick, I want to go over a couple of things, mainly in its hardware specs. A CPU of 412 megahertz. Now, we don't know the iPhone 5 CPU, but even to the 4S, a dual-core 1 gigahertz. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's more than quadruple the CPU power of the first iPhone. So, and the GPU, I didn't get specific specs on the GPU, but it's obviously been upgraded a lot. And depending on what Apple does with the CPU in the iPhone 5, I mean, it could be 6, 7, 8 times better than the original iPhone CPU. So, yeah, just kind of interesting to look at. This video went way longer than I expected it to, so if you stuck all the way through, congratulations, and you should probably subscribe, because that's definitely an achievement to make it 15 minutes of me just talking. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and again, like I said, I'd love to hear your comments on what you think of the iPhone then, to the iPhone now, to the new iPhone, anything related. So see you guys.